Thank you. I really appreciate you haven't left the room after the speech, because I wanted to leave, everything was said. So yeah, when I first realized that I'm going to have a speech here, actually I was struggling with the topic. How can I inspire people? You know, I can hardly inspire myself, right? So what to say actually? So I recalled one morning that sometimes around 2007-8, I saw a video on YouTube from Sir Ken Robinson. Who was a professor, a British professor, and he was talking about the creativity and education. And the speech was hilarious, and I remember it till today. So I wanted to somehow take him as an inspiration and mix it with let's say, my lifetime hobby of being in game design. So I put these things together, and now I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story in this area and how can it help you in your career. We are all in IT, so it makes sense. So I try to somehow identify points where you can be inspired. So I'm CTIO in ARTIN Solutions company. And this TI, if you don't know, is technology and innovation, which means that technology, I am responsible for infrastructure team for the security. And on the other hand, the innovations relates to our product development team. So you might see, like, one is the purely technical stuff and one is totally non-technical stuff, right? So I'm sitting on two chairs basically, and to me it's pretty natural. I don't feel any stress out of this being on two chairs, and this is because I've been in this for many years, and it's natural to me. Recently our company is undergoing a rebranding, so we will have a new name since the new year. So as you can imagine, we need to make a lot of creative decisions, like we need to invent a new name, new logo, new colors, new web page, everything. And we had a meeting, and on one of them, Marek, our CIO, just pointed at me and told me, I don't remember what it was actually, but you will be responsible for that because you are the most creative. And I don't think so, but anyway, he's CEO, so I have to do it anyway. So it got me thinking, like, what makes us think that we are creative? What makes people think that they are or they are not creative? So raise your hand if you think if you are creative. Okay, double creative. Good. So I assume the rest of you think that you are not creative, and I think this is a wrong question, because from what I know, we all are creative. We are all born creative, and that's why the children are actually the best at being creative. Maybe it comes down to what we consider as a creativity. So if we want to define what is the creativity, we can use a lot of, quotes from smart people. And I like the definition, very simple definition, that it's about putting things together that were not put together, that has some value actually. And this is also confirmed by the Einstein, who said that creativity is basically about hiding your sources. So we all have inspiration from something we already know, and then it's about how we put things together. So more we know, more creative we can be actually. So there is a potential. So let me switch to this. So maybe I start about the history, why this presentation is actually called games with around us. So my IT career started in 1998, which is quite early. Back then, the IT was totally different than it today, and basically I created a game. So it was like a first thing I did was a game. And it was a massive multiplayer online game playable via browser. It was the first game of such type in Slovakia, in fact in Czechoslovakia. It got massively popular over years, played by thousands of people. And it started the way that I have no idea how to do games. When I started, I cannot code. And I have no idea about the game design, that it's really a thing that you should first design. So, and this was possible because of two reasons, I believe. Because I have a motivation, I wanted to do it, and I have no fear. Simply, I was not aware that it's difficult. So I did it, right? And this would be for totally different talk, how it happened eventually. And I don't want to talk about that. I just want to say that the reason why we think that we are not creative are these two things. Because we are uncertain and we have ego. And the ego is exactly what Phil was talking about. It hurts. When we think that we are not good enough, it hurts. And uncertainty says that we might have ideas, our brain is feeding us with ideas, but we are not going to spit them out because we are afraid. We are not sure if they are good enough. And where the things intersect, basically, is the fear. That's why we have fear to be creative. We are all creative, but we have fear to be one. So what we need to basically do is to work around these two things, and that will somehow unleash the creativity. That was it. Now we have 20 minutes. Okay, so I have a couple more slides, so don't worry. Yeah. Now let's think about it. So why am I talking about the creativity? Because of this. And you may recognize this. This is the first, let's say, imagination of how the AI will look like. It is from the Stanley Kubrick's movie Space Odyssey in 1968. And this was basically the evil computer on a spaceship that was trying to kill all the crew members. So something very similar to today's AI. And
you might know something about it.
AI is going to change everything, right? So the impact will be huge. It is said that it will be like electricity. The impact will be similar. And I am not like I'm not expecting like a doom happen tomorrow, but it will affect definitely IT, all IT jobs, and we need to somehow deal with it. We can be afraid of this change, or we can expect it and adapt ourselves to utilize it to our benefits. And one thing about the AI is that it is actually not that perfect as it seems on the surface. Like when somebody is working on AI, and I'm talking to a lot of people who work with AI, and when they are talking about AI, it doesn't work. It means that it doesn't work. If it works, they start to talk about something totally different, like machine learning or the deep learning or language models or generative AI. So they go concrete. If it doesn't work, it's AI, right? So we are not there yet that AI is general purpose, whatever replacement for people. It will be much more complicated. So I am not afraid of that, but still, I think our weapon in the fight that will eventually happen over time with ourselves, not with the AI, is the creativity. We need to be ready to adapt to change. That's the most important facility for the creativity. So there are three jobs that will actually be very hard to replace by AI. One type are the blue-collar jobs. You know, when your toilet is broken, there will be no AI going to come and fix it. Then there are the empathy jobs, like where you actually need a human touch and understanding. The psychologists, therapists, stuff like that. Some AI enthusiasts might tell you otherwise, but I highly doubt it. And the thing that uses the imagination. So AI is really good at putting things out that were fed in, right? So it cannot really create something original. It can only use the data that we feed it to. So unless it's there is no outcome out of that. So, and I believe that the imagination equals creativity. So if you are on the creative side, if you are training your brain to be more creative, you are actually helping yourself for the future. So, but there is a dark side to the creativity, because being creative is draining. I know it. I've been on many creative workshops, as you do probably as well. So we are sitting somewhere in the room for 8 hours, brainstorming. How do you feel afterwards? Like, so it's not that you have to be all day fully creative and doing nothing else. It's simply impossible. But it's a muscle. You have to train it. You have to nourish it so it can kick in when you need it. And it is quite natural that people stick in their comfort zones. Like if you are a tester or you are a developer, you rather do your mundane tasks than come up with a new ideas that basically no one cares about, because your job is doing something. But on the long run, you have to work with yourself, because you will need it. Eventually, you will hit the point where you need to consider what you're going to do with your career, right? And I was there in this situation. So when I started with the game, I ran the game for 3 years by myself. Back then it was normal. We were like one-man factory, right? So I did the coding, I did the graphics, I did the community manager, I did the testing, data analytics, I did everything. And after 3 years, I was done. Before, it was the best thing that happened to me. Have a game, have a successful project that people loved. And after 3 years, I was done with it. I sold it to the Czech company, which ran it for 1 more year, and then totally collapsed. I got a job offer from Caldron, which, if you know, is a legendary Czechoslovakian game studio, which I turned down, and went to the corporation where I started a new industry, telco industry career. So it may happen to you as well, right? You are a tester now, and you will be maybe in the next 3-4 years. But what then? What then? What next? What will be your next assignment? Maybe testing won't be that sexy anymore. I don't know. So you need to think about long term, about your career, And I can tell you what helped me to be where I am, and I still think that I can contribute creatively to whatever I do. And then I have this concept of generalist and specialists. Like I consider myself being a generalist mainly. That means that I know about a lot of things, but not into detail, right? So in telecom business, I was a lot of years I was the architect, software architect. And if you are an architect, you don't go into details. You don't need to know about all API calls and all that stuff. You just think about boxes, like you have 70 systems, so you don't care about all buttons there. So you are a generalist, but you cannot be a generalist all your career because you will get unpractical. And people will start to ask you questions about how can you help us? And I cannot answer them because I've been out of the tangible things for too long. So then you eventually need to switch to a specialist. And what makes you relevant in your career, I believe, are these two arrows. So you have to basically switch between one and the other one to enforce your creativity and enforce your skills, because these two things must work together. We have also in the company startup webinars. We were discussing how to evaluate new ideas for startups and stuff like that. And one of the talks I said that ideas are worthless. There's a bunch of ideas that nobody is able to actually deliver. So in order to make things relevant, you make them happen. You need to make them happen. And for that, you need a relevant skill. And after that many years in IT, I realized that the best advice I can give you to your career in IT is to design games. Mm-hmm. Here we are. But absolutely, and this is absolutely warning, not as a job. You never ever do it as a job. It's a completely different story, and you don't want to be there. I've been there, you don't want to be there. So as a hobby. And I will give you all the arguments why, but not yet. Now, let's try an exercise. Like you have 10 seconds now. Or raise your hand if you are playing the games. Who plays the games? Okay, most of you. Great. Anyway, try everyone. Think for the 10 seconds and come up with an idea for a game that you would love to play in your head. 10 seconds.
Only one?
Okay. Now, I'm not going to ask you what you come up with, but what if I say to you now that this idea that you have, try to design it for the 6 to 10-year-old players. 5 seconds. So what will happen in your head with this information? Changes, exactly. And so now, what will happen if I tell you that there will be no guns and no fighting?
Nothing.
Again, maybe something, it will trigger something, maybe not. But what I want to say with this example, that this is how the creativity in your brain can be ignited. The limitations spawn creativity. If you are put in a situation, you have endless possibilities, you might feel frozen. You cannot think because the options are there are so many options. But the limitations can help you actually to move on. And this is how our brains actually work. We need limitations, and it's then much easier for us to think. Okay, where am I? Here am I. My brain is frozen now. So one last thing that I want to say, that every creative endeavor requires, if you want to make it happen, requires some framework to make it happen. So you cannot just think about it and be happy. You need to make it happen. And for that, there is many things that can help you. I'm not going into detail, but there is always a framework that can help you. And in games, it's a MDA framework. It means mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics, which gives you like a tools how to think about game design. What are the important things that you might never heard of? And if you take a look at that framework, it will teach you basically the same thing as you learn when you start to do digital products. So there is a link between games and digital products as we design them today. So we are surrounded by digital products, and they are using very similar, if not the same, methodologies to creation as games do. And in digital products, it's a design thinking often can be heard. And there is a good book from Jake Knapp called Sprint, which is basically a Bible for this concept. And the games are using the very similar principles. Okay, so what this framework will tell you is basically that you need to break down everything into small pieces and start with them. Similar what we heard in the presentation about the cooking. You need to split things into smaller chunks and then you can deliver. So that's about the design and creativity. And now we have 5 minutes and a lot of slides. So let's go fast. So these are the reasons why you should do the game design. A game design is basically craft and the art. It means that it forces your whole brain to operate left and right side. So we have like an analytical part and the emotional part, and this employs both. So this teaches you think in general. Every game you can do alone. I did it alone. Minecraft was done by one person, so you can do it as well. What can you learn from this, or what teaches you if you do the game design alone is it teaches you about your limits. Where can you get? It is good for your ego, as we saw. Ego is one of the main blockers of the creativity. So if you are able to start small with the Pac-Man or a Pong game and do the reincarnation of that, you are good to go. It will boost your ego, you will get the confidence to yourself, and you will unlock yourself. You get better at psychology. So there is a lot of books about the psychology in games, but what it teaches you basically the empathy for the players. It teaches you that there are different peoples around us with different priorities, and then you understand better what the targeting is also in other areas. So you cannot create a game and everyone will be happy. So you need to create a game for that kinds of persons, then the game for another persons, and so on. So that's a valuable lesson for life. You get better at math? Absolutely. So statistics, trigonometry, AI, pathfinding, all these things you will not find in a general IT. When you are coding backend API, you will not be dealing with the pathfinding. But if you go to games, you will find a whole new areas of IT expertise that you can get better with, and it will make you eventually a better IT guy. You get better at graphics, and you will have better eye for what is nice. This is from one of my games, 3 years old now. I do only pixel art. I love art from my childhood. And the games are the best way how you can fulfill your desire to create art. So it teaches you aesthetics and taste for nice things. This is quite important. You will get better at coding because if you have a bad code, your game will be slow. You need to organize your code because otherwise, if you are alone, you will be lost. These projects can grow really, really big. And it teaches you how to organize yourself throughout the code. All the things that you need in any other area of IT work. And me personally, I would rather hire somebody who is programming games as a developer to code me a backend API than hire a backend API developer to code me a game, right? It doesn't work vice versa. You get better at planning and delivery. So it teaches you about the conceptualization, a need for the preparation. So you cannot deliver from your brain. You have to do the preparations, absolutely. So, and it teaches you also the persistence and self-motivation and will. You gain a product competence. So if you decided to go out of the, let's say, testing or developer career, you can jump right into the product development. If you've done games, you are halfway through the product owner career path. You will create something meaningful, and we heard it from Phil as well, that this is very important for our lives, to create something meaningful. And for me, this was really fulfilling experience when I ran the game for 3 years then. To meet with the people who were sharing their passion about the game. We had weddings from the community, so I know these people are together because of me. It's the best emotion you can get out of what you do, and it's a huge confidence boost. And on the process, you can have fun. So you create something you like. I recommend highly, if you design a game, design something that you would play, because if it is total failure, you will be the one player at least who plays it actually, if no one else is playing that. But you will be happy. So the whole process might be quite fun. You will get somewhere. You get a lot of new information that you can use also in other careers. So don't be afraid to be creative. You are absolutely creative. You just need to unlock it, work with it, and the results might be games. That's all.
I have, listening to Ivan, I have several linkages and several thoughts. First of all, please do try the retro arcade games we have here. Just seeing all those pixel games, etc., and this design. So we still have, and talking about games, we are going to have a networking afterwards. So we're gonna have plenty of games too. So please come. But going back to your speech, is there anybody who would like to raise a question? I mean, in the room. If not, then why did you turn down the offer from the famous game studio and went to the corporation instead?
I don't know, to be honest. But at that time, I was so pissed by the game that I couldn't imagine myself doing like a game again. And the reason why I was basically selling the game was the community. It's really hard. And I was talking nicely about the community, but the people are pain in the ass, to be honest. Gamers are the worst people if you want to, let's say, have a free time or the understanding from their side. So they are expecting that you are always available. You do things that they think they are right, and they can be really, really pushy. So I was not able to do that. And maybe to explain, I was like 19 or 20 back then, right? So I was not prepared for that, all things that happened around it. So when the offer came, I was in a situation that I don't want to see any game anymore, never in my life. So that's why.
Well, what was the name? Maybe just a quick answer. The game you created, and what was it about?
The game was called Overland. Overland. I don't think there is anybody here. You are not old enough. You can remember that. They are all probably dead now.
And are you developing something at the moment?
I only code games occasionally and mainly for kids. So,
And at the moment?
I released the game like 2 months ago,
Okay.
but it was like after 3 years. So, and I have a board game prepared for the Kickstarter campaign for next year, but I don't want to promote myself here. So I'm also doing board games.
That's a good one. What do you consider your specialty?
Oh, I don't know. I think I am a visual type. I like graphics, and I'm more generalist. I consider myself like a really universal person who do IT for 20 and more years. So I do a lot of things. I don't know. I don't have any specialty, I would say. No, I'm terrible coder. I am totally terrible coder, because when I was doing the game, I was showing the code to somebody because we were dealing with technical stuff. And when this guy saw my code, he was asking me if I was sure that this is actually working. And I was, yeah, absolutely, it's working. Right? So I'm totally horrible at coding.
But you had fun.
Yeah, of course. It was fun.
Coming back to the questions, how we can train our creativity, some tips, if possible, brief tips.
Creativity. Go to board game design. Start to design a board game with 20 cards. That's my suggestion. There is a strong limit, so you won't be doing it for 3 months. 20 cards or a couple of dice and try to design a board game. Try to find the fun in there, and it's possible. I've done it. And I've done the exercises with people, and we're able to deliver something.
Somehow we ranks or we spin about games, because Daniel has in his presentation on the design has the card design as well. So I think that it's something what we have.
Games are around us.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
And the last one, I assume that it's how we could train, maybe? It's only question mark. So
all of this is great.
Use
Me
creativity.
personally, I am very active on Scratch. Actually, most of my games are now on Scratch. From there, I would suggest to go into Stencil if you happen to know the platform, which is advanced version of Scratch. Then to get Game Design Studio. And I definitely recommend Godot, to go to Godot framework if you want to do something serious, maybe publish to different platforms. It's better than Unity. No response. No game developers here, otherwise they will be screaming.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you.